You know what? I absolutely love Power BI, but it's also kind of shit. It's like having this superhuman suit. When you wear it, you feel awesome, and when you fire a weapon, it comes right back at you. In this video, I'm going to talk about 7 horrendous things that are absolutely terrible in Power BI, and Microsoft should absolutely do something to fix these things. The first problem that a lot of newbies get stuck with is sorting off the month orders when you're creating a calendar table and dragging any visual against that. Let me show you what do I mean by this. So let's just say that I have built this matrix visualization, which is where I have my total sales, but I'd like to present my total sales by the year and by the month, and for which I have already built a calendar table. From there, I can drag the year and the month column. So I'm going to do something like this. Select my table right here, open up the visualization panel, and in here, I'll say in the rows, I would like to add the data from my calendar table, take the year and take the month, and I've added that. Now, if I happen to maybe expand that particular month, you're going to see that the months are not in the right order. It's in the alphabetical order: August, December, July, November. That's a bad order to have, but we should rather have January through December. Now, I do understand that this problem can be sorted by sorting one month in some other order in the calendar table. Yes, but in Excel, this is really simple. And any Excel user coming from Excel is going to wonder that why is this feature not like Excel? Let me first show you that how are you going to solve this problem, and then why would it not behave like Excel. So if you just actually go over to the calendar table, you're going to see that you have the month column. This is the column that we have dragged in the visualization, and this should be sorted in this particular order. That means every column that you want to sort in the visualization, you also need to create an order for that, like an ascending order or descending order, or so on and so forth. So I've made this order for the months. 1 stands for January and 12 stands for December, so on and so forth. I can click on the month column. I can then go over to the sort right here and then sort it by the index order. Now the months are going to be sorted in a certain order, not in the alphabetical order. If I just go and take a look at this, this is going to be sorted in the right order: July, August, September, October, November, December, and then so on and so forth. If you contrast this behavior with Excel, in Excel, the sorting is relatively simple. In case you want to custom sort anything over and over again, you can build that as a custom list and store it, and every single time you want to sort it, that sorting behavior is going to be visible to you. So here is how you do it. So in file, I'm going to go over to options. Once you go over to options, go over to advanced, scroll right at the bottom. That is where you have edit custom lists. Now this is where you can define your sort order, save it, and every single time you want to sort in any particular way, it is going to be readily available to you. Why doesn't Power BI make something like this? If you're enjoying this video so far, I'd like to give a big shout out about my courses on Power BI, especially DAX, modeling, and the M language. I teach them in a very structured way. I try to give you the logic of understanding the problem, deconstructing the problem, and then framing the solution of the problem. That logic helps you to understand the problem at hand that we're doing in the course. Not only that, but you can then take the logic and apply it to your own cases as well, which is going to tremendously boost your confidence of solving your own data problems. Hundreds of students have joined my courses and they have benefited a lot. In case you're interested, the link is down in the description. Go back to the video. The second really pathetic problem in Power BI is wrong totals. Now, this is not inherently Power BI's problem. This is how the calculation engine works. And Greg Deckler has been writing about this for, I don't know, like 4,000 days or so. And he recently gave up on writing about this. But here's how this is so bad. So let's just say that you are taking a look at this particular visual. And in the visual, you have the year and the category. And I want to find out that in any particular category, what is the sales of the best selling product. So if you talk about 2018 and the category of accessories, there were many products sold in the accessory category, and that sales was 293. Now, what was the sales of one best selling product? This measure tells me that. In the bikes, what was the sales of one best selling product? This tells me that. Now, obviously, if you actually take a look at the total of the best selling product, you are expecting to see maybe the totals right here. So you want to total up the sales of the best selling products from accessory, bikes, and clothing. But this is not quite the total. This is actually the overall best selling product. If that is the behavior that you would want, this measure is fine. But if that is not the behavior that you want, this is not really the right measure. So what I would want is a toggle in Power BI that automatically takes a look at the total and fixes the total. But so far this has not been done, and this problem comes up on the Power BI community against several calculations every single day. But here is how you fix it, but this is a bad problem. There is no fix for that as of now. So what I want to do is I want to take the total of these three calculations. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a pseudo table, which is going to be the year and the category table. Against the year and the category table, I'm going to calculate these numbers, and then eventually I will sum these numbers up. That's what I have to do to actually fix this particular problem. I'm going to show you the measure, but in case you want to take a look at this particular video, this concept in more depth, I have done a very long video on this, explaining you through various examples and deep diving in the technique. In case you want to take a look, please go take a look at that video. Now, please take a look at this solution. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my data, and in here I'm going to open up the measure, which is the best product sales correct total. Now, like I said, I want to make a virtual table. The virtual table is going to contain the three columns, which I am seeing in the visual, but somehow Power BI is not able to take a look at it, which is the first column is year, the second column is category, the third column is total sales. If I'm able to build this kind of visual, then I can sum these individual values up and put that at the total right here. So how do we do it? I'm going to use the summarize function. I'm going to say summarize my sales data. The first column is going to be the calendar year, and the second column is going to be the category, which is the category right here. And against this year and the category, what I would want to do is I want to maybe find out my sales number. So I'm going to go something like, hey, I want to add a column to this particular table, and I'm going to say, hey, this is going to be my sales value, and then I'm going to maybe reference my total sales calculation. Now, if you take a look at this particular table, through this table, what we have built is the table that you are able to see, but somehow Power BI is not able to see, which is where we have the year, which is right here, the category, which is right here, and against that we have the total sales right here. Now, this three columnar table, I will go in every single row and I will sum the values up, and I'm going to say, hey, use the sumx function to go in every single row, and then you probably are going to sum the values up by just referencing the sales value column that we have created. Close the bracket and press enter. Actually, this should not be the total sales value. Actually, this should be the best selling product sales. That's the reference of the measure. Quickly correct that, and now I can just drag that. And if you now take a look at my visualization, at the category level, I am getting to see the right number, of course. But if you take a look at the total level, it is actually totaling up these three values, and the totals do match the individual values right here. This total is incorrect, but this total is absolutely correct. And that's how you fix totals, which at the moment, Power BI should do something about it, perhaps. The next not so good thing about Power BI is the convolutedness of the DAX language. When you're comparing that with the Excel formulas, the good part about the Excel formulas is that you press the F2 key and you take a look at the interlinkages of the cell addresses to where the references are coming from, and you're able to take a look at how the formula is made. That does not quite happen in Power BI. So you press the F2 key, you take a look at the formula keeps staring back at you, you keep staring at the formula, and you don't know what the heck is going on. Why is it giving you a wrong result? Let me present you a case. So if you take a look at this visual right here, you can see that in the visual, I have the total sales, and against every single total sales number, I would like to find the monthly mix, meaning I would like to take this particular number for the month and divide it by the total and find out that what was the percentage contribution of the month over the entire year. For which I have written a very simple calculation. I can show that to you. I'm saying that, hey, why don't you take the sales, which is this very number, and then divide it by the total of the entire year. How do I get to the total of the entire year? You take the sales and you remove this particular filter for the month, and you expect to receive the total of the entire year. This is going to give you the year total. You take the sales divided by the year total, and you are expected to see the percentages. But I see 100% everywhere. I don't get to see the percentages. Now, you can keep staring at this formula, but nothing is going to happen. This is going to stay like this. You're not going to figure it out that why is this formula not working. Now, the problem with this is that in order for you to successfully debug your DAX, Unfortunately, you need to learn more DAX, like how do you create a query table and how do you evaluate tables and things like that. So here is how you do it, but I don't know at the moment what is the fix for this, but here is how you do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go and select this particular table. And in this table, I'm going to go over to the Optimize tab and click on Performance Analyzer. Now, once I open up the Performance Analyzer, I'm going to start the recording, clear the visuals, refresh the visuals, and this is where I have received a matrix visualization of which the DAX query is right here. What is a DAX query? DAX query simply means that what query was sent to the DAX engine that resulted in this particular visualization. And if I'm able to take a look at the query, hopefully I'll be able to figure the mistake out. But let's just take a look. So I've got the DAX query here. I've got two options. I can copy the query and run it, or I can just run the query from right here as well. So I can click on the run the query from right here, and this presents this particular output. Now, the problem is for any newbie, this is a whole different world altogether. Nobody would be able to understand what is DS0 core, the summarized columns, add column is subtotal, and all of that. Now, if you just take a look at this particular visual, you're going to see that in the visualization that I created, I just had two columns coming off from my calendar table. I had the year column, I had the month column coming off from my calendar table. But because a while ago, I had the sort issue and I sorted the index in the order of the month, that is the reason why this column was automatically included. And that is also the reason why I'm not able to apply filters to that particular year. Now, at the moment, we have three filters. We have the year filter, we have the month filter, and the index filter based on which the column is sorted. I need to remove the two filters from here, not just the month filter. I also need to remove the index filter to take a look at the entire data of 2016. That is the problem. Now, for a newbie, for just taking a look at the visual and the query might be hard to understand. So DAX debugging is ridiculously hard thing to do in Power BI, and that's why I absolutely hate about it. But what do? I'm actually going to go to the monthly mix formula, and I'm going to say that, hey, we have two columns, calendar month, and the other column that we have is the index column. I would want you to remove the filters from both of those columns, and then I'm likely to get the total. And now if you take a look at the formula starts to show you the right result. It's actually taking this value, which is right here, and dividing it by the total, which gives you the 14.49%. And now you start to see the right numbers. Long story short, DAX debugging is ridiculously hard. Another big problem in Power BI is that Power BI automatically turns on the auto date time intelligence feature for every single date column in your entire model. And that is bad, like really bad. Let me explain to you through an example. So I've got the same calculation that I was just trying to do in the last case, which is where we have the year, we have the month, we have the total sales, and we just fixed this calculation just a while ago, which is where we had the monthly mix. I would want to find out that what is this value divided by the total. And we just fixed it. It's the very same calculation. If you take a look at the measure, it's the very same measure that I just fixed it a while ago, but this damn thing is not working as of now. The problem is that I have actually dragged the wrong column of my calendar table. So if you take a look at this particular calendar table right here, I've got the date column, and if you actually drill down on the date column, you're going to see that this date column has a hierarchy, and the hierarchy already by default contains the four built up columns by Power BI, which is the year, the quarter, the month, and the day. And if you take a look at this particular visual, I am actually not picking up the year and the quarter that I have created, on which I have removed the filters, but I'm actually picking up the year and the month column right from this table, on which I have not removed the filters. So I would highly recommend that you please turn off the auto date time intelligence feature of your model and just work with regular calendar tables that you have full control of. Now, how do you do that? I'm actually going to show it to you. So if you go over to the file here and then go over to settings and then click on options, you're going to get to this options box. In the options box, you have two places where you can turn it off. One is going to be the global settings in the data load, and you're going to see that this is where I have already turned off the auto date time for new files. Any new blank Power BI file that I create, I automatically turn this off. Now, if you want to do it for the current file, you're actually going to click right here, and this is where you will have to turn it off for the current file. But mind it, if you do turn it off, anything which is linked to the auto date time, calendar, year, and the month column that you have created is actually going to break, and you'll have to come back and fix it. It's going to be absolutely worth the fix because this generally bloats up the model and also might just give you wrong calculation results. What I'm suggesting is that Microsoft should give some intuitive feedback or some pop-up or something that this particular feature is on, be careful, or something or the other, but you just can't let that feature be and expect people to get right results, because you're expecting people to work with DAX and you're expecting people to do drag and drop visuals. Both of them don't gel very well together. You have to understand the context. So hey, let's just maybe do something about it. I don't know. Now, I absolutely love Excel, because Excel has got that one little thing, not a little thing, it's a big thing that Power BI has failed to deliver in many, many years. And that is shortcuts. We don't have shortcuts in Power BI. That means if I want to do basic fundamental things in Power BI, like make a new measure, create a new calculated table, or make a new column, I don't have any shortcuts to do that. You can argue with me that we can actually go ahead in Power BI, hit the Alt key, and then go over to H, and then press the NM for new measure. But this is not the shortcut that I'm talking about. Like, I don't want to press 16 keys on my keyboard to just make a new measure. Give us a simpler shortcut. If you can't do that, then at least please activate the quick access toolbar up on the top that we can actually customize it. Now, we already have the shortcuts for save, which is bad right here. I don't even know how many people click right here to save the file or undo and redo. These are bad things. You can just like allow the users to customize the quick access toolbar in a way that these people can take the shortcuts and put that right here. Now, in general, I'd recommend Power BI to just have the basic keyboard shortcuts for the most used things in Power BI. In my opinion, those used things are the general ability to make a new measure, new column, new table, switch between these tabs, which is nothing but your visualization tab, your data tab, as well as your model view and the query view. We should be able to switch between these, insert a basic graph or a chart, and move the pages very, very easily at the bottom. People who are actually coming from Excel world and they are trying to adopt Power BI, and anybody who's an Excel ninja obviously works a lot with the keyboard. You can't expect them to leave their habit and start using mouse for every small little click that they are making. People are not going to like it. So please, Microsoft, please, in the name of God, please give us the shortcuts. The next thing that I do not like that much in Power BI is the panels in Power BI. I cannot unstack them from their position at the moment. Take a look at this visual that I'm working with. Very simple visual, 4 columns, but perhaps if I have to do something about it more creative and I want to open a couple of panels, this page is literally going to have a very less real estate and I'd not be able to take a look at this. So if I just happen to open the data bar and then the build bar, the format bar, the performance analyzer, and a bookmark bar and a couple of other things, you're going to see that this has nearly occupied like 75% of the real estate of the screen, and I'm not able to take a look at what is literally happening on my visual if I click through all of these options right here. So this is really bad. And what I would want ideally to happen is that I should be able to pull apart the performance analyzer from its current position and like unstack it and unstow it, and then I should be able to work with it and click the close button and it's going to be gone. And I can actually work with layers on, you know, the panels popping on one on top of the other, but this is like too hard for me to just take a look at what is happening on my active screen. And most people, I believe most people work with multiple screens, so people can actually move the panels of Power BI to other screens and they can work with it. The other thing that I generally suggest that Power BI should do is that unstack the formula bar, that is the DAX formula bar up on the top. So if you take a look at the formula bar right here, right now my formula is like very, very small, but if my formula actually goes to 20, 30, 40 rows of DAX, I'm literally not able to take a look at the visual, and this is again not a very good feeling of the UI. So do something, Microsoft. Help us at least unstack the panels right here so that we can actually move things around in our convenience. The last big problem that I have or feel is going to greatly impact a lot of people is that a lot of people choose to make table visualizations while designing their reports, because table is such a fundamental thing. It gives you accurate data. You can take a look at the very numbers across a table, and a lot of people do use tables. One of the most fundamental thing that Excel has and other tools have is that you can actually auto adjust the width of the columns in the table, make them equal or make them a certain width. And that is missing in Power BI. Can you believe it? I just completely hate it. Now, I've spoken about a few methods of fixing the width of the table in the past. You can take a look at that videos. The bare minimum that has happened in this field of fixing the row width is something like this. It's a partial fix. It's no good at all, but I would want Microsoft to fix this. I'll show you what fix am I talking about. So here is my visual, which is where we have the year, month, and a couple of other measures. And perhaps I want all of these columns to just be absolutely of equal width. Not smaller, not greater, but absolutely of equal width. At the moment, I can do it with multiple taps of the keyboard, but I don't have a shortcut at the moment where I just take all of these columns and make the column width equal. I cannot do that, and that is super bad. But here is what I can do at the moment. So I can actually click on the column header right here, and you'll have to actually click using the shift key. And then once you actually get the surrounding box outside of the column, then you can actually use the shift key and the arrow keys to adjust the column width. So shift right arrow actually increases the column width, and shift left arrow actually decreases the column width. And if you just do the right arrow without using the shift, you can move to the next column. Again, use the shift and the arrow keys to move the column width and go to the next column, so on and so forth. There at least gives you slight bit of convenience to do it with the keyboard, which is maybe slightly more accurate than with the mouse. But hey, this needs to be a lot better, and we need to have one feature where we can set the width of the columns of the table equal without much of a hassle. It's going to save people so much time. Microsoft, please do this.